This video is great for if you're trying to get into tech but you don't want to do coding. If you're able to solve problems at work, you're already doing the job. If you've ever looked at a problem and thought, oh my goodness, this could be done so much better, you're a business analyst. Hello, it's Laifa. How are you? Welcome to La La Land, where I talk all things career switching, pivoting, getting that 9-to-5 bag. Now, if you are not interested in software development or having a technical role of that nature, I've also worked in the capacity as a business analyst. I have some knowledge as to what the transferable skills for this would be. This video is great for if you're trying to get into tech but you don't want to do coding. You want to know what are the transferable skills that you have that could fit into the role of a business analyst. So a lot of people do not realize that they are implementing business analyst skills every day in their day-to-day life. If you are able to solve problems at work, you're already doing the job. We're going to talk about problem solving and critical thinking. If you are able to fix issues at work, handle complaints, improve how current processes are working, if you are able to do that already, if you're already doing that, you're showing your critical thinking, your problem solving skills are there already. If you've ever looked at a problem and thought, oh my goodness, this could be done so much better, you're a business analyst. A great line in your CV could be identified process inefficiencies and implemented improvements to enhance the workflow. The second one is analytical thinking. Of course, you need analytical thinking. It's in the title. Analysts, BAs spend a lot of time analyzing data. They look at trends. They look at requirements. This transfers from Excel, reports, tracking performances. The key thing is that business analysts, they don't guess. They use data to make informed decisions. So a great line for this could be analyze data to identify trends and support decision making. Communication. Now this one is very, very, very important. You'll be talking up and down. Any roles that involve people and interacting with people, that's a transferable skill. As a business analyst, your main role is translating business needs into clear requirements. You need to be able to communicate efficiently and effectively with stakeholders to gather and clarify their needs, their requirements. Requirement gathering. This is literally the core of a business analytical role. You are taking briefs, understanding customer needs, asking the right questions. Now, what exactly is requirement gathering? I'm just going to give a basic example here. I am a mother and I'm planning for dinner time, right? So I will ask my stakeholders being my family members, my children, my husband, and maybe anybody else who is coming over for dinner. I would ask you, what would you like to eat for dinner? And I would ask each person individually, or I might ask them in a meeting, or like when we're in the living room, in a gathering, whatever the case may be. This asking the questions, that's the requirement gathering. That's me asking my team being my family, the stakeholders, because they are going to partake in the eating of the dinner. What would you like to eat? I will gather the notes. I will document these notes. Well, I wouldn't literally, but as a business analyst, you would document what everybody wants. And you would turn that into a user story, which is a whole different subject. But, well, it isn't really a whole different subject, but it's a way to translate those requirements into a semi-technical format so that when you are relaying this information back to the technical team, in my case, I'm the mother, so I wouldn't be the technical team. But for example, if I'm a mother and I had a chef, my chef is now the technical team, right? So I've gathered these requirements. I've said, this is what the stakeholders want. I've gone back to my dream chef. Imagine if I had a chef, that'd be amazing. And I've said, the kids want to eat rice and chicken, or they want pasta salad with potato and, I don't know, macaroni cheese and I don't know, just think of the list can go on. I would relay this information back to my chef and they will create the meal. So that is basically what a business analyst does. That is the process of requirement gathering. So another key skill is process improvement. So a lot of companies, a lot of teams, they have different processes of how they actually get things done. In my household, I like to call this systems. A pure example of a system is I would have a brush on every floor on of my home, right? The reason being is because we have two entrances. So it doesn't matter what entrance that the user, being my family, the users have to leave my home, they can access a brush really quickly. So on the top floor, they've got bedrooms. Everybody has a brush in their room to brush their hair. But what if they've forgotten to brush their hair and they're about to leave the house and they're at the bottom floor? They don't need to run all the way up to the top floor again because there's a brush right by the mirror. So they will brush their hair there instead. So that system of having a brush on every floor, it just makes life easier for everybody else, but also it's kind of a process, right? When you've used that brush, put it back where you found it so that anybody else who wants to use that same brush can easily access it. That's just a home example, but at work, you might suggest better ways to do a task, streamline workflows, identify inefficiencies. So if you feel like they're taking too long to reply to emails and you have a better automated process to get that done, or maybe you create a spreadsheet or a timetable to effectively get that done, then you have just streamlined a process, right? Stakeholder management. Let's talk about that for a minute. So what exactly is a stakeholder? I mentioned stakeholders earlier on in this video. I mentioned about the family members being stakeholders because those are the people that will partake in the meal that would be cooked. A stakeholder is anybody who will use that specific tool or that specific feature. Anybody that is in the board or the CEOs, the CTOs, you as a member of the team, you are also a stakeholder. Anybody within another department that you are improving their workflows or their processes, they are stakeholders. That is the meaning of a stakeholder. But if you actually, let me just go on Google. A stakeholder is any person, group, or organization that have a vested interest in a business, project, or organization and can either affect or be affected by its operations and performance. They are crucial to project success, providing influence, input, or support. So common examples are employees, customers, investors, and suppliers. These are stakeholders. This is just for anybody who is not familiar with like technical terms or business terms. I was new to, I didn't know what a stakeholder was before I got into this, literally. So if you're aware of the meanings of this and I'm like talking as if you don't know, I'm literally speaking to the person who might not know what a stakeholder is. And also a part of stakeholder management is also managing their expectations. So when they want a new tool or something built and it might take several weeks, so that might be like a good number of sprints. Just pretend you know what I'm talking about when I say sprints, because if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're gonna be like, what the heck? She's just thrown in another bit of jargon. Just say it will take a number of sprints and they think it can be implemented in a week. You need to manage their expectations. That is also part of stakeholder management and just communicating with everybody really well. The next skill, which I think is very essential, is having really good documentation skills. You need to document requirements. You need to document processes, you need to document systems. Trust me, you'll be writing a lot. Writing reports, admin documentation, note taking, especially during meetings where somebody might come up with a new idea. And if you're not taking notes, you will forget because sometimes the work piles up and something that may have been mentioned in a meeting may be put on the back burner because you're like, oh crap. Something else of higher priority came into place. So if you're not writing your notes, you will miss it. So a good line would be produce clear and structured documentation to improve business processes. Now, a final bonus transferable skill is adaptability and business awareness. You need to be aware of any business changes, system changes. Have you ever worked in a fast-paced environment? Then you'll be used to when things change a lot. How have you dealt with handling change? Have you adapted quite quickly? If you are a business analyst or you have experience in that role, please do share any of your thoughts on really good transferable skills for somebody who's trying to get into the role and doesn't have experience. I'm just sharing from the top of my head some things that I think are really helpful that would be really good to put on a CV. Let's have a discussion. Let's have dialogue. Let's make this a resource for those that are really trying to make the pivot, make the switch. Any suggestions about potential video ideas that you might be interested in, let me know in the comments. And until the next one, I just want to make clear that I did a video previously on transferable skills for software development, and now I've done a video on transferable skills for business analysts. It's only because these are the two roles that I've worked within and I think that I could speak on. But if you want me to speak on other stuff, it might have to be that I call somebody in to really share their expertise. But these are just some thoughts and opinions that you could have down on your CVs. Remember that I do have a CV guideline video, so I'll also link that in the I, wherever the I is, and the description box. So this is a little bit of a small CV series, just so that you can get your foot into the door. Yeah, until the next one, comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Bye.